Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm James.
It's time for Amazing Race Australia.
Week number 5.
We're
Right?
past the mark now, James. We made it.
17 freaking episodes, and we're finally down to 6 teams left. Like, if this was the US version, the show would have been done, a team would have crossed the finish line, and that would have been a wrap. But no.
We would have all gone about our, we got
I guess
back to our lives.
They do things different down under, you know?
They sure do. They sure do, but we're loving it. We still love this cast, even though it's taking forever to eliminate them. But first, you guys, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up. We're going to dive into a short week, actually, just episodes 16 and 17. And so we only lose one team this week.
I know, because I think there was a new stowaway team, Harry and Meghan, that interrupted the 3 episodes this week because they were the new stowaway. They just forgot to mention it.
They were the stowaway team. But I think they got eliminated really quickly. They didn't last. So
no, they didn't even make it to the stowaway starting point.
No, they actually left on their own accord. They said, we're leaving the race. We're not going to be a part of this race anymore.
No.
Okay, let's go to Tasmania. Oh my gosh. I've heard of Tasmania. Oh, looks amazing and beautiful. And yes, let's spend several legs there. They get to depart in order. Thank you for that. And first, we're going to build a house of cards, but we're going to be dressed up in our 70s outfits.
I loved it. And I think the best dress was Delore. Like, it was so, like,
I loved it.
I didn't get the point of, I get the point of the costumes. I understood it, tied it into the history of the spot. Loved that aspect. But every team, like, seemed so, like, did they choose their costumes, or was the costume set aside with their names on it? Because Delore's shirt, like, all he had was a shirt that was a crop top that did not fit and a wig, while, like, MJ and Chelsea had full on, like, disco, like, jumpsuits and wigs. Like, I just didn't understand the method behind who got what costumes.
They had to just quickly grab something. So
they had to wear a period piece.
Yeah, they had to wear something, but it wasn't set aside for them, to the point that, which one was it? Brendan or Jackson grabbed a dress. He was wearing a dress. Like, it just accidentally, that's just what he grabbed. So I loved that some people just looked so fly, and then some people just looked so ridiculous, and I loved every second of it. It was great. No, there was really no reason for it, but it just looked great. So guess what? Our Cowboys come in first here, y'all. First ones to build these this house of cards. The Footies and the Seeks, that round out our top 3 here, our first 3 at this task. You can build this house of cards anyway. You just have to use all the cards, and you have to go at least 5 stories high.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's like when you have to really read your clue and make sure you're using every card and double checking the box to make sure you don't miss a card.
Oh, you can miss a card if it was still left in that box. That's true. Delore and Holly, this is the first. We just see them just falling apart immediately. They're having a bad day for like the last 3 weeks.
Which was interesting because at the start of the episode, when they were leaving the pit start, you got those nice little interviews of them, and they're kind of like, we're just going to be a little positive. We're going to try to just, be better. And then you're right. When they got to that card stacking, it was just kind of a mess. But, again, Holly holding down the fort with her optimism and her patience and her communication.
And letting him speak to her in any way that he pleases. And she just doesn't throw the biggest fit like I would. She handles it very graciously and just tries to get through the task, because she really is here to race. Oh my God, my dog just jumped up. I'm not feeding you. You go have dinner with your other human. Oh my, she's jumping in my lap. Sorry. She thinks I'm going to feed her dinner, and I'm not. Okay. So, yeah, they're falling apart. And also, a lot of these houses of cards are falling apart. We're just seeing cards dropping left and right. The only person who really seems to get it is Jake. He's got a background in construction.
Yeah, they kind of like breezed through this task. I think they were so focused. They were very level-headed. They had great communication throughout. I think it was that anxious, like, oh my God, there's one card that like all of Jake's work up until that point came crashing down because it was a little too eager to place that last card rather than just, take a beat, take a deep breath, and all you have to do is place it somewhere.
Yeah.
Why the top? Yeah. Why the top?
Just place it. So gentle. Like, yeah, you just shook.
No.
You're shook because you're like, oh my God, I forgot this card. Oh my gosh. When you should just realize you are the first to get checked.
Right. You're rattled.
Take as much time. So yeah, it falls in this point. So that allows Chris and Alicia to actually skip ahead here and get it finished first. And they're also like, Alicia's like this, like putting the card. So nice.
I loved their strategy too. When they showed up, they picked the farthest table away. And made note of the fact that because in, earlier legs, there was a lot of copying of each other and watching other teams doing a task so you can kind of see what other people's approaches are. I thought that was brilliant. Again, they're such smart and savvy racers. And I can understand why the other racers in this competition are so threatened by them.
Yeah. I'm telling, thank you. Amy's yelling at Douglas. I actually yelled at him too. Thank you for alerting me that I'm blurry. That means I text Douglas and I make him get off the internet. Chat knows me so well. Okay, so the siblings are, Chris and Alicia are getting out first. The siblings do rebuild and they get out second. We see so many cards falling, but we do see some teams like getting out. But once again, we're here at a task where the Cowboys have come in first, started first, and they are leaving last.
Yep. It seems to be pretty consistent and very on theme for them.
It's interesting. It's weird luck because sometimes they just like get things, nail things, and then sometimes it just feels like the ends. There's no moderation. It's either like immediate or they're the last teams. Okay, we're going to rappel down this building now, and we're going to wash the windows while we go down. Chris and Alicia get to do this first, but Alicia just skips a whole floor.
She was just like, I'm going to go down this building and be done.
Yeah.
But forgetting to clean the window along the way.
Yikes. And so you can't come back up. So now Chris is like extending his body in unnatural ways, swinging all over, trying to get this done. And while they're doing that, that allows Sky Blue and Jake, who are right behind them, to just clean all the windows in order and get down first. And that's a huge advantage in this leg because we have a fast forward.
Yes, we do. And it was kind of nice. It was, we haven't really seen that in the American version in a while. So to have this fast forward was a nice little treat.
It was. And it was a cute little one where you got to go skinny dipping in the ocean. And they had a full audience waterside, which was also fun.
Oh, yeah. Front row center. Everyone was ready to watch the show.
Now, Will and James, as a pair on the race, would you guys have done this fast forward?
Absolutely. In a heartbeat. I mean, if we were in first and we knew we could maintain our lead in that capacity, like Sky Blue and Jake, absolutely. I think getting naked like that and swimming out to a clue, you just got to get over that initial hump of like, I'm going to be naked in front of strangers. But also you're already putting yourself out on reality television. You're already being vulnerable with who you are. Why not just bear it all while you're at it?
Why not?
full spectrum of just really being yourself on reality TV.
James's approach to reality TV. If you're gonna do it, just go all out.
Commit to it, have fun with it. I love that they had fun with this. Of course, it's a little awkward because you guys are siblings, but they made the most of it and had fun with it. And I just thought it was so silly. I do wish that the fast forward would have been placed differently in the leg, only because I felt like with how much the abseiling really separated teams and the card stacking separated teams, it was just kind of predictable that every team that opened the clue thereafter was like, well, there's no point in going for the fast forward, where it would have been nice to position the fast forward somewhere in the leg where maybe a team would have questioned like, oh, I don't know if someone went for it yet. And then you would have seen that conflict between teams being like, who could do it first? That would have made it a little bit more edgier.
Agreed. All the fast forwards that I have enjoyed is when someone's like, I don't know if someone did it yet. I don't know. Should we go risk it? I don't want to risk it. Yes, I do risk it. Oh, they've already done it. Now I've got to go back and do another task.
Especially for this particular task. Imagine like 3 teams. That's maybe dare to dream. But let's say 3 teams decide to go for it. It was neck and neck. They all show up and they're just ripping their clothes off in a hurry. And it was just an all out naked brawl to get your next clue. And it just would have added more excitement, I think, to the fast forward overall.
Yeah, that would have been super, super fun. You don't want it too far into a leg though, because you do want the advantage of like, you just get to skip to the pit stop. But it would have been nice if the first task got us a little more, not so spread out, I guess. Yeah. Good point. Well, Sky Blue and Jake are 100% going to do this fast forward. No worries about it. Their sibling vibe is always adorable when they're like embarrassed to do things together, like the pasta kissing thing. And now they're naked and they're like, don't look at me. It's very fun, very cute. I would love to know if Chris and Alicia, had they been able to keep their lead, if they would have done this.
I feel like such racers that I feel like they would have.
They would have. I mean, it'd be silly to pass it up, but you just never know if people have like modest views. If Chris or Alicia show up in the chat, remind me to ask them. Chat will ask them about that.
Yes.
So
I'm DM them right now. I need to know. Would you all have
tell them to get in the chat and answer the question. All right. So those are our first 2 teams getting down this window washing challenge. And Holly and Delore, by the time they get to it, still falling apart, but also they don't like heights. This is just really pushing them over the edge. They're not a fan of this challenge. They don't want to go down. Neither one of them is enjoying this, and they just sort of struggle all the way down, but they are able to finish by the time the Cowboys begin rappelling. So these are our last 2 teams for the leg, basically.
Also, I never get tired of hearing them say abseiling. Like we call it rappelling.
Yes.
When I hear abseiling and just the way they say it, like there's something about it I like. Abseiling.
Just everything that Australians say is just adorable and wonderful. Does anyone watch The Chase? It's a trivia show on right now that has the 3 goats from Jeopardy, Ken, Brad, and James. And people go against them. And there was a question with the word abseil in it. And you had to figure out, and these are all Americans, and they were just like deducing if it had to do with rappelling down. And look here, the Australians like use it regularly.
Right. Well, if they watched Amazing Race Australia, they would have just known. They would have pulled that out of their brain and been like, oh yeah, abseiling. Chris did get back to me already. Such a fast reply. He said, yes, we would have gotten naked super quick with the laughing emoji.
Oh, fun.
Like, see what I mean? Like that would have been exciting. Like them on the tail of Sky Blue and Jake and then just ripping. I just would have been hilarious.
Yes. You're right. I forgot about that, honestly, when I was watching it. I would have loved a bit more of a race between who was going to get the fast forward. But Sky Blue and Jake got it, and they move ahead while the rest of the teams are now headed towards a roadblock. Who's a good shot is your clue. You're going to go up a tall shot tower, and you're going to count your steps, and then you get to, like, drop the thing, whatever. Chris first up there, counts it perfectly, in and out, real quick, beautiful. The girls bought a travel guide.
Look, that was so brilliant. I kind of did a little oh yes, go girls, when I was watching that, because it was so brilliant. Like, it's not against the rules to buy travel guides. And the fact that they did, and it just happened to have the number of steps, was brilliant. And I even loved how Ash was like, maybe double count just in case when you get there, because maybe it's a misprint, maybe something's changed since this book was published. I just thought that was so brilliant. I loved that.
Yeah, and I love that the VO was like clearly added in. They're like, it's completely legal. We can do this. And it just happened to have the answer.
I know that sounded like a late added voiceover.
Yes.
So this place of and it wasn't against the rules. And I was like,
yeah,
that doesn't sound like you recorded that on the show, but okay.
Right. Well, welcome, Chris. We were just reading your DM. Thank you for answering James's question. I just wanted to know if you would have been willing to do the fast forward. But of course you would have. Yes. And of course you count the steps perfectly, as you would. And the girls do seem like they check and they seem to get it fine. But of course, we're also going to get a Delore edit here, James.
Yeah. What was going on there? Because he was 100 steps off. He was in the lower 200s. And the whole time I'm thinking, did you just jump 100 steps? Did you take an elevator by accident? Why did you miss 100 steps? What happened?
Well, that's a good question. But I also just love that on our way to this, we get Delore being like, finally, I've been waiting for a physical challenge. This is it. It's time for me to beat something out here.
Up. Yeah, I like the confidence. I appreciate that.
Let's go. And then he just counts. I don't know what staircase he was counting at all. Completely wrong. And he's the first one to be wrong at this point. But then the second time, he was only off by one step. And that is so
I know. Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know. You don't know that you're off by one, but wow. So it takes him 4 tries to get it. And then Jackson also is struggling. He doesn't know if he's counting metal steps and wood steps. It's unclear to him what are actual steps. So it takes him 3 tries. Yeah. That's a lot of stairs.
Very literally.
That's a lot of stairs to go up multiple times. That's rough.
Oh, Ben, that's a really good question. I was wondering the same thing, if anyone shared the answers. I mean, especially Ash and Amanda. I was curious, they had it in their book. They knew right away what it was. Did you share with your alliance? What if they did and they just didn't put it in the edit because they knew how much of a backlash there was with the US version?
Right.
That would have been an opportunity, I feel like, unless it was specifically in the rules, you are not allowed to share with the other teams.
Yeah, it's possible that the teams are kind of spaced out at this point, though. I don't know if they had the opportunity to share, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Gold Coast girls shared information. They seem willing to do that with certain people.
Yeah, they're also committed to their alliance. I'm just curious.
Absolutely. So this detour that we're going to next is sweet or spirits. Lick chocolate art or build a whiskey barrel. You guys, this licking of the chocolate board. Was it just me that found this utterly ridiculous and very hard to watch?
I think in theory, I think that you would get tired of licking the board to find these hidden words. But I feel like when you put together the 2 detours of licking the chocolate and then rebuilding a whiskey barrel, I don't feel as though it really balanced out. I mean, I get that's part of the race, but I just feel like it really, maybe with the chocolate thing, what if they made the words smaller? like super small where you had to lick up more of the board. Cause like I feel like when the footy mates left, like they hardly had much of their board cleared except just the words. So it's almost kind of like the challenge.
Yeah, but you have to figure that out.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve. And I think there was a learning curve to both of them. Obviously, one is a bit more consuming, building a barrel. And we only have one team go do that because the licking the chocolate sounds like it's going to be easier. And ultimately it is. But you do have to sort of figure out, you know, oh, here's the words. Let's just focus on that area. I don't know. I thought they were different. Like most of them are kind of, there's something different.
Oh, vastly different. Oh, yeah. I was just saying it felt like I wish the chocolate would have been refined just a little bit. Like I wish maybe the words were a little smaller.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris and Alicia are building their barrels first. Our only team that doesn't go to the chocolate, which I assume is it because you're vegan, Chris, that you guys didn't go to the chocolate?
I wonder that too.
Doing the barrel, because obviously that barrel is going to be harder. And he does say that it took them about an hour. The footies get to that chocolate first and they get right into it. Seems like once they figured it out, it's fairly quick. The Gold Coast girls, Amanda's lactose intolerant, but she's trying her best, getting through this. But the Sikhs are actually able to pass them at this chocolate task. And then we get Holly and Delore. And this bad day is just getting worse. Oh, boy. They can't.
Yeah, it was so interesting to me that like it was that repulsive. I mean, sure, it's not comfortable, but also like you just, I don't know. It was, I mean, nothing really surprised me at this point when it comes to Delore and a challenge. It's just comedic relief.
I mean, it used to be comedic relief when he is not supporting his partner at all in this moment where he's like, I'm grossed out by you. Stop it. Which I just don't understand why he's grossed out by his girlfriend. But
like,
yeah. Have you never seen her tongue before? Like, I don't understand this. But But he is like straight up just refusing to participate in the task. And she is like in tears at this point, being like, it's a race. Delore, like, come on, like, help me out a little bit. She is doing so much of this. She's doing it all by herself. And he just refuses. And he's to the point where he thinks that they should go switch tasks. And she rightly so is reminding him, we don't build things well. That's not a good idea. And he's like, I'll do it myself. I'll build it myself. And I'm just like, oh my God, he's not getting it. He's not. This was hard to watch for me. Holly in tears because she can't get him to support her is just really, really hard to watch at this moment. But it does lead them to hack the challenge a little bit. And he's now behind the board and able to see where the words are. And that does help them out. So there we go.
See, that's kind of brilliant. Like, I thought that was like, you're outsmarting the challenge. I don't know if like when this challenge was created, if that was meant to happen, but I don't know, that was kind of smart. Because I thought that when I was watching it, I was like, why don't you just go to the other side? Like, it's not like it's nailed to a wall. It's on an easel. So all you have to do is take it off and find the words and then lick those parts. Yeah.
Instead of a whole board, for sure. But then when Holly and Delore leave, we got to look for Chili's house. And even though they asked the lady and the lady clearly said, look around the yard, they got in their car and they just left.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they're out searching for some house that doesn't exist while the Cowboys are able to find Chili's house just fine, get on out of there. And at this point, they've passed Holly and Delore, and Holly and Delore are our last team now in this moment. So that takes us to the pit stop, which is a very cool old ship, and you get to kayak out to it. I love that. Just a little extra perk. First place is Sky Blue and Jake because of the fast forward. They get $5,000 each and a year of Subway. Yes, get it, Subway. Appreciate. Second place is MJ and Chelsea. Third, Chris and Alicia. Very good finish. Fourth is Jazz and Anurag. Fifth is Ashley and Amanda. They keep falling back, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Sixth is Brendan and Jackson, only because they passed Holly and Delore at that very last second. And now our seventh place team is Holly and Delore, and they are eliminated this time.
Holly and Delore, it's been a run. It's been a journey.
It's been a journey. I think that they were ready to go. I think they did what they wanted to do, and they were okay with going at this point.
I mean, I definitely remember when the season first started off, I was very unsure about Holly and Delore. I was like, oh no, like I don't know how I feel about them. And then Holly instantly grew on me because I was like, wow, her patience is out of this world. She clearly is just a queen at the fact that she can be so patient. And then like somewhere in the middle, it just like ended up getting more fun for me to watch them because it was just so funny. And so
we had some good edits with Delore, like, you know, making fun of him was fun. But ultimately this episode reminded me that he's not a very good partner in life, I don't think, and he's definitely not a good partner for the race. So Holly, props to you for sticking it out. I hope you get a good royal title if you marry him. I mean, she was a really good racer. I wish she had a better partner because she.
Yeah, I wonder if it would have been like a different.
Like she has a sister or something. That'd have been awesome. Yeah. Well, let's move on to episode 17. We're still in Tasmania. We are still departing in order, thank you. And we're headed to Gordon Dam. Oh my God, this was so high up. It was almost hard to watch. They're dropping this ball down this like massive dam. Obviously, dams have to be pretty big. And they're trying to get it into a net, but just like the camera had to like cover so much that I was like getting vertigo just like watching this.
Yeah.
And this was kind of like a luck of the draw here kind of task. So even though we departed in order, so Sky Blue and Jake should have been first, they decided to, instead of go to the task, they decided to drive in the opposite direction for a while. So they're going to go do that while MJ and Chelsea get there first. And MJ and Chelsea are able to sort of drop a few, get some attempts out before other teams arrive, because once other teams arrive, you've got to like take turns. You've got to go in order. So the
time to like figure out the curve to this without other teams learning from watching. You know what I mean? Like they were able to kind of figure out how the wind was working, and they realized very quickly that it was changing. Like it kind of paid off being there first, I think.
Yeah, maybe, but like the wind changed so much that it looked like it was hard to get a strategy. It was hard to really figure it out. Although we did hear some people say like bounce it off the wall, like so maybe there was some strategy there, but it looked really like some luck had to be involved here. So the footies are able to get it after 8 attempts. Oh, no, that's not right. They did 8 attempts by the time the Sikhs had arrived. And then now they're taking turns with the Sikhs. But MJ and Chelsea do get it first and are able to get out first. The Cowboys, once again, they have either horrible luck or amazing luck, get it on their 3rd try.
Yep.
Insane.
So the wind was on their side with this one.
Yes. The wind gods. And then the girls, it only took them 5 tries. That's pretty darn good. That's amazing, especially since we see that it ends up taking Chris and Alicia 33 tries.
Yeah. I feel like there was so much, there was a lot of elements that were kind of at play here that kind of put teams at a disadvantage with getting it into the net. And I understand there's like a little bit of a learning curve to it, but I think this was a task that kind of set apart like the front of the pack versus the back of the pack for the rest of the leg. And that that was kind of like, I think what kind of made the episode just kind of flat a little bit in that sense. Cause you kind of are like, there's a lot of time that has gone by at this point where everyone who left the damn last, it's going to be a bit for them to catch up.
Yeah. Well, Sky Blue and Jake have discovered that they went the wrong way and now have circled back and decided to go ahead and go to the task here. And then they're like, well, cool, we'll just get it on our first try. So Jake's just like, boom, ball and net. And then out they go, which was insane. Crazy. But yes, so we are fairly spread out at this point. But besides that, though, I really enjoyed this episode for the tasks. The tasks in this one are very entertaining in my mind. We're going to a detour now. Crush or crunch. It's at a raspberry farm. James, I've never seen a raspberry farm. What is this?
Nope. I've been raspberry picking, but I've never been to this type of farm. Yeah.
I've been to strawberry patches. And that's it. I thought I might have more to list, but that was it. Just strawberries. Oh, no, I've seen blueberries. That you've picked, but out in the wild, like not at a farm. Anyway, here we are at a raspberry farm. You're boxing up puree or you're basically apple bobbing, right? You're looking for a very specific apple. And this was very entertaining to me. The footies.
Watching.
Oh my God, so cold. I get cold so easily. And this looked painful. Oh my God. Okay. So the footies, they think they're going to do the puree, but at the last minute, they're like, wait, the apple bobbing's right there. Let's go do that. Oh, they tried. They tried so hard. They were so cold. They're in skimpy bathing suits too. Like, wish they had a wetsuit or something, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like basically naked at this point and you're so wet and cold. And we find out later there is a strategy to this, but these footies, they didn't figure it out. They didn't want the apples to drop on the floor. They wanted to like pick them up together, and that just takes too much time. So she's obviously still freezing and cold, and they decide they need to switch detours.
Yes, which is always so risky. But I get it in this case, especially when it wasn't the detour you originally wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So they make the decision. They do it. And
it's almost like, I'm curious to know, like, sure, getting there and seeing it, you're like, okay, we're already here. Let's do it. That in itself is also a risk. But would you rather risk attempting a detour where you originally didn't pick it because you weren't sure like if you would excel at it or not, over just spending the time to go to the other detour from the jump?
Right. Yeah, if your gut was the other detour, just go to the other detour.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough pill when you're like, because you're going to have that in the back of your head and you're going to be like, we're going to switch. We're going. Whoops, we made a mistake. And the Gold Coast girls see them switching, but they are like, well, this is the one. See, they do go with their gut. This is the one we were going to do. So we're going to go ahead and do it. And it pays off for them. We see the Cowboys, they get to the puree first. I feel like both of these tasks are kind of time consuming, but again, one of them has luck to it.
Yeah.
And the other one, you really just have to be precise and get through it.
Yep. Focus and push on through.
Mm-hmm. So the Gold Coast girls are able to sort of power through and get their apple. And the siblings, Sky Blue and Jake, they're the ones who really nail this strategy. Jake is just tossing them out.
So smart. I thought that was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And we see it pay off. They get this real fast. She's, basically on the ground, just like eating apples, but he's not going to be stuck in that cold water as long, That's the key. So the Cowboys, they make messy boxes. So even though they finish first, they have to redo. And this is when Chris and Alicia, they do arrive while the footies are still there and the Cowboys are redoing. They're still there. And then we see the Seeks, they also figured out the sort of apple strategy, and they apples on the ground thing, and they're able to get out in a timely manner. And still, Chris and Alicia are our last team. still. Now we have another intersection, James.
I feel like it was misplaced. It was at a weird point in the leg. I think it was too late in the leg for an intersection. I could have seen maybe this intersection being for the ball thing, like the net thing. I don't know if there was a way to do that then, or I don't know. It felt very misplaced to me.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're just going to pair up with the next team, but the way that the teams are spaced out, it just makes the most sense. Like, I'm not waiting around. We're down to a few teams now. Yeah. So I really don't want to wait around, you know? Our Gold Coast girls show up first, and the siblings are right behind them, and they're more than happy to work together. They're not a fan of oysters. How do you feel about oysters, James? You got to shuck and eat 100 oysters.
Well, I hate seafood. It's not my go-to. I hate smelling the ocean. Like when I have food that's seafood, I don't want to smell the ocean while I eat it. Like that's just not it. Like, not for me. I would have had difficulty stomaching it, but I would have done it. Like, but that would have been like my personal choice.
Right. Like Sky Blue. She's not enjoying any of this. She doesn't want to eat oysters. She never has before, but they're all shucking them and eating. And even, I don't remember if it was Ashley or Amanda, but like one of them was having a harder time with eating them. And I get oysters are an acquired taste, but I happen to love oysters. Oh my God. My dad gave me oysters when I was like 3, like, cause I grew up in Florida. We just would catch them ourselves and eat them fresh off the boat. And so I would be just fine on this task. But these girls and the siblings are laughing through it, having a good time. They eventually get through it. Then we see the Sikhs show up third and the Footies come in fourth. And the Sikhs are very happy to see that it's MJ and Chelsea. So the 4 of them sit down and just sort of power through it as well, doing their best. And it's here as they are leaving that the Cowboys are arriving and realize they are going to have to wait for our lovely vegan team, Chris and Alicia.
And a team that's not in their alliance.
And that, to top it off, not in the alliance, and also vegan, probably not going to be super helpful with this task. And they have to sit and wait. Chris and Alicia are back of the pack. And how painful would that be to sit there and wait, James, for any team?
Yeah, it would be frustrating. But hey, that's the point of the intersection, and it breaks up the teams a little bit, which is kind of nice. But I think it was, again, weirdly placed there, especially for it being a non-elimination and a leg with a sabotage and a salvage. It was just kind of odd. But it would suck to have waited that long.
Yeah, real tough. Then, yes, Ellen, this is the question of the moment, but let's get there. Chris and Alicia finally show up. They're prepared to take a penalty. They have no intentions of eating oysters. And our Cowboys are like, no, we're not taking a penalty. Can you at least shuck? So they start in on this challenge. James, what are you doing in this moment?
Well, I am not vegan.
Yeah.
I don't eat meat, but I think that I could have done this. I mean, I hate seafood.
Yeah.
But I would have attempted it for sure. Will would have had no problem with it. And then I think whatever team we were with, just knowing I would be with 3 other people that would probably pick up the slack for me would be comforting. But putting myself in their shoes, like understanding Chris and Alicia, and, you know, they're both vegan, I get why they decided to not eat it. And if it's already common knowledge among the other racers, I feel like the Cowboys should have already known that it was going to be a problem. So when Chris suggested, hey, let's just take a penalty, I get why it was hard for the Cowboys to do that, but I do think they were being a little bit stubborn. they should have weighed out the pros and cons, which I don't feel like they did. I think that maybe their alliance and their mentality of like, we're an alliance and everyone's out for Chris and Alicia was more on the forefront of their brain of like, no, I don't want to give in to Chris and Alicia. Like, that's how it came off to me. Because if it was any other team, maybe they would have considered it. But I think that they didn't want to give in to Chris and Alicia. But I would have never taken the penalty. However, I think for Chris and Alicia's race, I think it was good strategy. And I think for the Cowboys, it obviously screwed them over because they're sitting there having to eat and they couldn't even finish it at the end of the day anyway. Right. Like, that's kind of when you need to swallow your loss and say, I'm not going to sit here and eat 100 oysters. Like, come on, you're not going to. Like, even watching it, they're not going to do that. Like, so just take the penalty. You're going to have to take the penalty if you don't finish it. So move along.
It was a weird situation because I think in BBUS, which is what I'm much more comfortable with, I would probably err on the stubborn side as well of like, I'm not taking a penalty because penalties are terrifying in the US. But this new world of like, you don't really know. It might just be a 10-minute, 20-minute penalty. I almost am like, we know we're the last two teams. Screw it. Let's take a penalty.
And that seems to be like the common average time for a penalty, like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like throughout this entire race that, in the US version, oh, hell no. I mean, you saw with Gary and D'Angelo when they gave up at the music challenge in the Philippines, got a 4-hour penalty. You know, maybe it was 2. I don't remember. But either way, that's such a substantial amount of time that it's not worth the risk. And you've seen people with, dietary choices on the race push through it because of that reason alone. And I actually had an interesting conversation with Will about this. Part of me is like, we've had some really great moments on the race where someone's like, I haven't, eaten meat in years, but I'm going to do this. Like Nat and Kat on season 17, they had to eat like a sheep head together. I think one of them was vegetarian. One of them was diabetic. So like, there's a little bit of a restriction there, but they did it, they got through it, and they ended up winning the whole season. Yeah. So when you think about that, like those are some great moments from the race, but also I think now that it's 2021, we're trying to be more open to a lot of different people's lifestyles that I think maybe there is a way for the race to now tweak it to make it a little bit more accommodating for people with dietary restrictions, because I don't feel like it's necessarily, again, I don't want to say fair because like you said, reality TV is not fair, but I also think it could be a health issue. And if it puts you at a disadvantage, that's not fair, but it's not fair from a health standpoint. Like that could put someone in the race. Like that can make them completely sick of like, I can't even continue to race because of that challenge. So I think there's a way maybe moving forward, this could be a great conversation for Amazing Race to like look at it and maybe tweak it a little bit. I mean, that's why that they didn't do the drinking in Berlin, because D'Angelo and Gary don't drink. And so the beer yoga wasn't even real beer. You know what I mean? So there's a way to accommodate it. And I felt bad for Chris and Alicia, but I think maybe this is a conversation for change.
That's interesting perspective, because I was looking at it just from as someone who has dreamed of being on the race for so long. And I too have dietary restrictions. I am a vegetarian and have been since I was 13 years old. If I ate meat, my body, I don't even know what my body would do. But if I got an opportunity to be on the race and you told me I had to eat a sheep's head or whatever, I would probably be sobbing the whole time and maybe puking it up. But like I would power through to do whatever I could on the race. So it's interesting to hear what you're saying, because I automatically was like, Chris and Alicia, you're on the Amazing Race. Like,
I know.
I understand you're vegan every day, but let's eat some oysters here, people.
But then maybe we need to think too, like, I'm like you, but have we been programmed to accept that because we've seen it already on the show? Whereas now we've come so far that like I took meat out of my daily life because it affected my stomach. Like I would get stomach pain. And so it would put me out on the race. I was very careful whenever we were at pit stops, very careful about what I chose to eat, especially in foreign countries, not knowing what a lot of their food was. I had to be very picky because I have a sensitive stomach. So I just think that maybe, again, a conversation for change, but I get you. And I agree. Like that would have been my mentality. I don't like seafood, but I would have done it.
Yeah.
But
to be fair, if you make me bungee jump or skydive, any challenge like that will put me out of the race too, because my body physically reacts when it drops. Like if I go on a roller coaster that drops, anything like that, my body would go out. Like these are also things that I don't want to do in my life, but on the race, I'll do it. So like, where do you draw the line? So now we don't bungee jump or skydive anymore. Now we don't eat crickets. Like, where do we draw the line?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really
oh my God. This is a whole different podcast that we got to do.
I love it's a really good point that you're making. It's a very, very good point. But it also goes to height stuff. Like in Berlin, like Gary was not at a weight where he could do the sauerkraut challenge. So D'Angelo was forced to do it. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're right. Where do you draw the line? Where do you make the exception? So when you put it like that, yeah, it definitely changes the conversation a little bit. And maybe that conversation is when there's like detours. If someone doesn't want to do the food eating, then they have the choice to do the other. This was like you were forced to do it. And that would be a little sticky.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. Are you going to do the eating thing? Or are you going to do this other thing? At least you have that option then. Well, this was a lovely debate and conversation.
I know.
And I'm so glad
I really enjoyed it, Sarah.
that we got to have it. Yes, absolutely. So ultimately, Brendan tries to eat. No, Chris is the one. Chris is eating. No, sorry. Jackson is the one eating so many oysters before their stubbornness just gives in, because Brendan's not even helping Jackson either. It's literally on one person's shoulders, and that's going to make anyone's tummy not feel good. So they eventually decide to take the penalty and stop eating. And then we go to this cool haunted Willow Court Asylum. I love the way this was shot, the creepy sounds, the creepy doll. This was so cool. But ultimately, they're just looking for Bo for the pit stop. But I quite enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it too, especially because I like those like paranormal shows. And it made me think of that show on MTV, like way back in the day, called Fear. Did you ever watch that show?
Was it Fear Factor?
No, it was just Fear.
Oh.
6 ordinary people that would spend the night at the most haunted place in the world. And each of them would get assigned a task that they had to complete at some point in the night to add like cash to their pot. And then if you couldn't do it, you had to tap out and you were removed from the game. And then the point was to survive the night. So like it gave me that vibe of just like, I loved it. I thought it was very cool.
Yes, and just props to the way they shot it and edited it. It was really, really great. So running through this to the pit stop, we have Ashley and Amanda coming in first, and they do get a first class pass, so we know what's coming. Sky Blue and Jake are in second place. MJ and Chelsea are third. Jazz and Anurag are fourth. And because our last two teams here took kind of left at the same time, it was sort of a bit of a race running around this haunted asylum to find the pit stop. And Chris and Alicia are able to pass the Cowboys. They come in fifth, and Brendan and Jackson come in sixth. But we know who has the first class pass in their hands. So it is absolutely no surprise whatsoever that Chris and Alicia are given the salvage and the Cowboys are given the sabotage.
I know. This is the third time that Chris and Alicia have been sabotaged. I mean,
this is insane.
Time. But again, I get it. I get the strategy of why them over Brendan and Jackson. It just sucks that it comes from the alliance. So it looks like the alliance is ganging up on one team, but I get it. Chris and Alicia, to their races, yeah, they're the most threatening. And that's just that. And I loved how bold Alicia was of being like, you
Oh
know,
my goodness.
coming, and then saying they have the boys wrapped around their fingers, like, watch out, boys. Like, I thought that was bold, but like, good for her for calling it as she sees it. I mean,
Alicia snapped. Whoa.
Yes, Ash and Amanda, to me, are kind of like the puppet masters who have built this alliance. I mean, we talked about this like a week ago, that they built this alliance. So if there are U-turns, especially like a vote U-turn or a T-junction twist or anything where they might have to be a target, they're setting themselves up beautifully to not be targeted. I get the strategy and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
But yeah, it's hard. I mean, we've said it. It's hard to watch one team get ganged up on, and that's what it just feels like at this point. But if you can be in a solid alliance of teams who keep not being eliminated, then yes, that's fantastic. So, and they own it up, you know, even after Alicia calls it out and is like, they're working together, not surprised, you know, they said, you know, yes, we've been working with them this whole time. So we're happy to give them the salvage, you know, it's clear. Yeah. We're working with this team, not you. So yeah, it's hard to see 3 sabotages, but if anyone can get through it, it's Chris and Alicia. Like, there is absolutely a reason to target them. They're really, really good.
Yep. I'm curious, like, it would have been really fascinating to see if it was MJ and Chelsea at the bottom with Chris and Alicia, if the sabotage and salvage would have played out the same.
I think it would, because we saw a little bit of a hint at the drop the ball at the dam thing when MJ and Chelsea ran by. They gave more info to the Gold Coast girls than they gave to Chris and Alicia.
That's a good point.
So I think it's clear that there is one target at this point. Yeah. So that's it for this week. Kind of a short week with just 2 episodes. But next week we're back to our 3 episodes as usual. So James and I will be back next Thursday to recap all of those, and maybe we'll lose a team or 2. Maybe.
I'm hoping we lose 2, but I fear if we lose 2, we're gaining 1.
Oh, no.
I don't know why my gut is like, there's going to be a freaking stowaway. I'm just like fearful of it.
Look, I have not been against this stowaway twist, but I am done. Like, we're too far in. We are trying to get a winner here. Like, not anymore.
So let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes left. So 7 legs left. The last 7th being the finale.
Yeah.
There's 6 teams left. So if 2 go next week, that means we're down to 4. And that means 4 episodes left. There's got to be another team coming in, or next week is 2 non-elims and 1 elimination.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised about that, because we have definitely had a few of those weeks where we only saw 1 team go.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We will see.
Surprise! It's Will and I. We're the stowaway.
He's like, I this twist, but I'm going on the show.
They literally flew us from New Orleans to Tasmania. We're coming into the game next week. It's crazy.
Love it. Wish that were the case. But no more stowaways. We're good. We're good, guys. We're good.
Who do you think's gonna win? Now that we're
I'm putting my money on MJ and Chelsea, or Gold Coast girls, or Chris and Alicia. Those are my 3.
Yep. Those would be my 3 as well.
I would love if that was the final 3. That would be amazing.
Same, because then I'll be like, I don't care who wins. I mean, granted, I obviously have a hesitation with the stowaway winning because they weren't there for the full race, but I really like MJ and Chelsea as people and as a team.
Yes, they're a strong team. Okay, I'm not paying attention to this, Amy, but thank you for letting me know. Thank you, everyone who was in the chat with us. We really appreciate it. You guys are so much fun to chat with, keeping us laughing and thinking. And for those of you who are joining us later, please leave us a comment letting us know how you feel about the alliance, about poor Chris and Alicia getting a third sabotage, and who you want to be in the top 3.
Yes.
All right, you guys, we will see you next time. Bye.